Namaste, beloved. I'm Akasha IndigoRae, and welcome back to Akashic Song. So today I am coming to you from my bedroom, so don't mind the weird angle. I got super cozy because I've been meditating a lot today. Sorry, this ponytail's already bothering me. I got super cozy meditating on my bed, and I did not want to move to where I normally film in my altar room. So speaking of that, today we are going to talk about meditation. So I just wanted to share a little bit about my journey with meditation and how it's been helpful and impactful for my practice and how I use meditation as a magical practitioner. So, where to start? I first want to say that there are some huge benefits to meditation, even besides having increased, feeling like an increased level of magical aptitude. Meditation is amazing for sleep, regulating moods, lowering depression and anxiety. It's great for, strangely, helps with circulation in the body and in the brain. Helps with brain functioning, clarity, focus, peacefulness is a big one. People report that they feel more peaceful. I feel less reactive to the world. Meditation is great for clarity. Also, clarity of vision. Like, what do I want in my life? Sometimes it's hard to even hear ourselves because there's so much stimuli around us. But when we teach ourselves how to sit and shut out all of that noise and calm down, things become clear later. It becomes easier to hear your intuition when you can calm down. So there are amazing benefits to meditation. And you could do a Google search and all of those things would be there. So I'm not going to waste the video time here listing out all the benefits of meditation. There's many. I will say that I have been meditating since I was about 22 years old. I grew up in a Christian household. And if you know anything about the Christian walk, usually as they call it the Christian walk, most fundamentalist pastors, and I went to a Baptist high school, most fundamentalist Christians do not believe in things like yoga and meditation. They think that it creates an empty mind, which becomes the devil's playground. So I didn't actually start learning about Eastern styles of meditation until I was 22 years old. I became really fascinated with Zen Buddhism. All of the Buddhists... I worked for my dad one summer. My father is a Christian New Thought minister. And so he would talk about meditation, but his style of meditation is more about contemplation. So reading holy literature, reading spiritual books, reading the Bible, and contemplating the meaning of those things in his life and just kind of letting it run around in his thoughts. Not necessarily like a quiet sitting meditation. So I worked for him one summer, and there was a woman in his department at the office that he was working at the time. And there was something about her that I thought was so cool. She was kind of like, I guess if you would say a hippie, right? She was an older woman. I mean, older. I was probably 17, so to me, she probably seemed older, but she was probably in her 40s or something like that. She's probably like in her 40s, like me now. But at 17, that seemed like she's an older woman, 40s or 50s. But she seemed like what I would imagine a hippie would be like when they were grown, like even just the way that she dressed. And she used to wear like long beads. And I remember she had like silver kind of hair and was always kind of back in like a loose, like wavy kind of bun with some hair. And I just kind of, I don't know, had this fascination with this woman's aura. There was something about her that was really floaty and peaceful. And I remember one day my dad telling me that she was a Buddhist. And I didn't know what Buddhist was, but I was like, that's fascinating. And I don't know why, but when I came across it after college, when I was living on my own in LA for the first time, I got really interested in Buddhism. And I started reading all this stuff on Buddhism. And one of the first books I read was called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Suzuki Roshi. And it talked a lot about approaching your practice as a beginner, so that you're always learning something new. And there were a lot of meditation techniques and koans. And a koan, spelled Koan, is a specific little short contemplative thought that you just kind of ask as a self-inquiry. And you don't try to answer the question, because any answer that you give is not going to be the answer. Any answer you give is only a facet, and there's always a deeper layer to that onion. And so one of the koans that I worked with when I first started was, what is the sound of one hand clapping? And you just ask the question and sit with it while you meditate. You're not waiting for anything particular to happen. In fact, in one of the Buddhist like sayings is, don't just do something, sit there. So you're just sitting. And I learned this way to sit, where you want to sit as erect as you can with your spine straight. And you imagine there's a string from the top of your head going to the base of your spine that pulls you really straight, and make sure that like you stack your vertebrae and you're just as erect and still as you can be. And then you want to look kind of at the tip of your nose. So your eyes will be open. You want to look kind of at the tip of your nose and about a foot in front of you. And you're going to keep your eyes open. That's what I'm trying to say. You're going to keep your eyes open and keep your lids low. You look kind of at the tip of your nose and just beyond, about a foot in front of you. And your hands will sit at your navel chakra, kind of like this. Some people will go one on top of the other, but basically you're making like a little oval shape that sits in front of your navel. And they call that the hara. So about 2 finger widths deep below your belly button is your hara, and that's your power center in the body. In the yogic school, they call that the Muladhara chakra. So you sit with your hands in front of that chakra and you just take deep breaths. You might meditate on this koan, but basically you're not trying to do anything. You're just sitting. And if thoughts arise, you watch them fall again. You don't chase the thoughts. And if you're doing a koan, then you just continue to ask the question to yourself. So this was the first form of meditation that I worked with, and it was really helpful for me at the time to try it. As I progressed in my path, I started to learn about Nichiren Daishonin, so chanting. And if you've watched What's Love Got to Do with It, is the story of God. Sorry, a text message came in while I was talking and it totally threw my thoughts off. It's the story of Tina Turner. And a part of Tina Turner's story is that she, when she's going through a really rough time, a friend of hers introduces her to chanting to help her change her life. And in doing the Nichiren Daishonin chanting, this liturgy that you're chanting is the story of the enlightenment of the Buddha. And there's a whole, thing that you're saying. But then when you get to the part where you're just saying Nam Myoho Renge Kyo over and over, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, the facet that it works on is that we are putting ourselves on the vibration of the Buddha's awakening. And people will ask for all kinds of things that they need in their life at that time. So we're raising energy to then direct it. And chanting has been one of the most powerful forms of meditation that I've ever used. It is a form of meditation. And the reason why is because instead of sitting silently, now you're giving the mind a thought. You're giving the mind a holy thought. And the mind follows this holy thought that helps to create or to put you on a vibration that can only do good work for you. And if you're a person who has a problem sitting in absolute silence. If you feel like the monkey mind gets too noisy and you can't reach that place of stillness, chanting is a great alternative, because what it does is you give the mind something to do, but the only thing that it can do creates a mood for you, whether that's power, whether that's peace, whether that's prosperity, right? You're giving the mind a directive of what to focus on and nothing more. So it's hard to think about, what am I going to have for dinner, and where's the this and that, and who's calling me, and did I feed the cat yet, and all that. It's hard to think about all of that and go, Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha, Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha, Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. It's hard to think of anything other than Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha, right? Because to try to think about all these other things while you're chanting that is even harder than sitting quietly. That mantra, by the way, is the Ganesh mantra. And Lord Ganesh is the remover of obstacles, but sometimes he puts obstacles in your path to help you grow. So chanting has been one of the most impactful types of meditation for me. And when you chant, it's helpful to have beads to do that with. A typical chanting mantra comes with 108 beads. 108 are the nadis, or energy centers in the body. There's 108 bones in the body. 108 is pretty big on the spiritual path. So we use 108 beads. These are rudrakshas. They resonate with Shiva, or they're the tears of Shiva. And you say one of the mantras for every bead except the one that connects the 108. So this is the 109th. And this 9th bead is the guru bead. So we don't chant on the guru bead. So you go around, and for every bead, you will say the mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Or if you're doing Nichiren Daishonin Buddhist chanting, there's a particular type of prayer beads that those come with. They look a little bit different, and you rub those together generally to draw energy, and you will chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. But I have found that you can chant, if you don't work with deity, you can chant. There are plenty of chants in the Hindu system that don't resonate with deity and are literally just Sanskrit mantras that are good for various things. So there's one that I've been using recently called Ahem Prema. And Ahem Prema means I am divine love. There's Tattvamasi, which is that thou art. Basically, you're naming everything that you can see. Every phenomena is God, is divine. Yeah, there's several of those. You can look those up. There's the Tibetan chant, or the Tibetan mantra of Om. Oh gosh, just went out of my brain. Om Mani Padme Hum. And Om Mani Padme Hum is I bow to the jewel in the lotus. We're getting in touch with the intellect of our higher self. That mantra is really deep, so I can't even encompass all of that in this video right now. So please go read about Om Mani Padme Hum if you're curious about that. So that's chanting. Another style of meditation that I've been doing currently that's actually been really impactful is Kriya. And Kriya meditation asks that you sit in that very similar position. You can either be, as the Zen sitting position, you can either be sitting on the floor, on a zabuton, like on a cushion. And when you sit on the floor and you're sitting in a cross-legged position, it allows your hips to be higher than your knees, which is generally helpful for comfort. You'll sit with your palms open in your lap or on your knee, and you'll turn your head this time up so that your eyes go to your third eye, and then you close them. And you'll sit like that, inhaling and exhaling. And on every inhale, we say, I am not this body. And on every exhale, I am not even this mind. And we do that, I would say, for about 7 minutes or so. And then we're going to pause that for a moment and we say, ah. And that sound resonates with, again, the navel chakra. So we're calling in our power center. We're connecting to our power source. Even I felt my navel get warm. My stomach got warm. So we're raising energy in these particular parts of the body so that they can help to support us, to connect us, and to lead from that place, an empowered place. The sound of ah also resonates separately with the heart chakra. So we're aligning certain points of our body that help us to be more present in life and to be our best selves. After chanting ah for 7 times, then we go back to the quiet contemplation of I am not this body, not even this mind. Again, the inhale is I am not this body and the exhale is I am not even this mind, to finish out 12 minutes as a minimum. So you want to sit for 12 minutes in the morning and 12 minutes in the evening. And you want to be as consistent as possible, because I find when I start skipping around is when you start to see the breakdown in the gains that you're getting. So if you want to continue to have the gains of a sharper, crisper mind, more peaceful way of being, deeper rest at night, a healthier circulatory system, all of that, then you want to be as consistent as possible. So that's the style of meditation that I'm currently working with. The last style of meditation that I'll share is Vipassana. Vipassana meditation was what I learned when I went to a 7-day silent retreat. And Vipassana works on the system that instead of giving ourselves a mental directive or a chant, we just allow the thoughts to rise and we don't chase them. We let them fall again. If we notice a sensation in the body, then we do actually notice the sensation in the body, right? So we're not suppressing anything. When I first started doing this meditation, I was having a lot of back spasms. So as I would feel this pain in my back, it was hard for me to get comfortable. And I spoke with the meditation teacher about it. And I said, I'm having a really hard time meditating because I can't relax because my back hurts so much. And she said, well, why do you think meditation is supposed to be relaxing? I said, well, if it's not relaxing, then what's the point of it? And she said, well, to be more of who you really are. If you're feeling back pain, then maybe you ask your back, what are you trying to tell me? Because all day long in our lives, right, we suppress feelings, we push down pain, we medicate anything that brings us discomfort. But if we can stop and ask the body what it's trying to tell us, I'm not saying don't use the medication also, but you can also ask the body what it's trying to tell you, and rather than suppressing that, then we start to hear the wisdom of the body. The body is a memory holder. It holds emotional memory. It conducts energy all day long. That kinetic energy has got to go somewhere. So one of the things that I heard when I was dealing with all the back pain was that I wasn't feeling supported in my life. I was going through a pretty hard time. This was in like 2012 or 2011, 12, somewhere in there. And I was going through a lot of stress and a lot of hardship, processing some old stuff and whatever. And I was feeling like I had to be so strong and I had to be so tough and I had to keep pushing forward, and I hadn't let myself mourn for some things. And that realization that I wasn't feeling very supported was a powerful one, because it allowed me to realize that I don't let my friends support me, that I don't ask for help, that I keep pushing forward and feeling like I have to champion my own needs. I have to cover my own needs. I can't ask for help from people. So that was powerful for me to hear. And once I started listening to that, my back pain started to quiet down and I could actually meditate, right? So that's how Vipassana helps, is we learn to not silence the body, we try to work with the body so that we're one whole unit, one whole system. So to close this out, I will just share with you a couple of tips. So set up a time when you meditate every day where you're not having to keep changing your time. So we're always going to have something that comes up, right? That's just life. But if you know that you can get up at 6:30 and nobody's going to bother you, that's the thing to do. So I already get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I get my pets settled. And then once everybody's settled, then I go and sit. I use my Mindful app. It's the Insight Timer to set it for the 15 minutes. I do 15 minutes because I do prayer work with Oshun before. But so I'm setting the timer for how long I want to sit to help me also manage the time, but also to know that I'm giving myself a set amount of sitting time. That was redundant. You know what I mean? Like, I know that I've set a container. I've set a container for what I'm going to accomplish in that moment. And then I also know when it dings that we're done. And in the evening, I'm a little bit more flexible with the time because I have a lot more flexibility with when I'm going to go to bed or when everyone settles down. If my cats are taking a nap earlier, then I can meditate earlier or, whatever. So I can be a little bit more flexible in the evening, but that's also why sometimes in the evening I don't do it. So it is really good to have set times because then you get more in a rhythm. And then once you're in a rhythm, you'll do it consistently. And when you're doing it consistently, you will see the payoff consistently. A second tip would be to set your mood. So I love the fact that I'm in a place now where I can have an altar set up all the time. And I always have candles. I always have incense. There's just certain things that I always keep on hand. So I'm never out of tea lights. I'm never out of incense, any of that kind of stuff. Sage, I always have a sage wand. So I always like to start out by getting my senses calmed first. So saging myself a little bit, spraying a little rose water, sitting on my zabuton, wrapping myself up in a little wrap, keep something over you with you so that if you get cold, you don't have to step out of the headspace, or you don't have to step out of meditation in order to go get a blanket because you're too cold. Nor do you have to force yourself to sit there and be cold. So I light my candles, I light my incense, I get really comfortable. I light enough candles so that I can keep the lights off, be it early morning or, at night. If you aren't in a situation where you can have a permanent altar or you don't have a permanent space to meditate and it's just like a little nook by your, side of the bed or what have you, your nightstand. When I first started in Zen Buddhism, I literally had a candle, a cauldron that I burned my incense in, and then I had a picture of the Buddha just to help me think about what it was that I was trying to accomplish, or the guru that I was looking to help enlighten my path. So it doesn't have to be elaborate. It just has to have a designated space for you to do that work. What's another tip? Put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Set that time for yourself so that no one's going to call you. The good thing is when you first start out, if you're meditating for like 12 to 15 minutes, the likelihood that an emergency is going to go down in that 12 to 15 minutes, that particular 12 to 15 minutes, is slim to none. But if it does, you're also not sitting for that long. So then when you get off the phone or out of the meditation, you can check in with folks. If you could make a little Do Not Disturb tag to hang on your door so people don't walk into your bedroom if you live with roommates or housemates, or if you live with a partner, any of that kind of stuff. There's always a way where you can kind of designate, this is my time, please don't interrupt this time. Another tip would be don't have a giant meal and then sit down and try to meditate. Not going to work. You're going to go to sleep, or your stomach's going to start like moaning and groaning and talking, and you're not going to focus. You're going to focus on that and not relaxing or not Sorry. I still keep trying to say meditation is relaxing. You're going to focus on your tummy grumbling and not stilling the thoughts in the mind. Another tip would be, I don't know. I think that's enough. What I have seen happen in my practice is I'm able to get still faster. So then when I get ready to do spell work, if I'm doing some kind of Sabbath ritual, or if I'm doing like a full moon or a new moon recognition or something like that, I'm able to get into the zone a lot faster. Meditation teaches you to turn your attention towards whatever it is you want to turn your attention to a lot faster. Because when you learn how to calm yourself down, when you learn how to still your mind, everything else becomes a lot easier. So I think it's important as magical practitioners that we do really develop a spiritual practice that includes some form of meditation. If you're a more verbal person and you want to hear chanting and you want to do that, that's great. If you like the idea of silently building, to like a place of perfect union, that's wonderful. But I do think some form of turning the mind towards the divine before you do any kind of spiritual practice or any kind of spell work or craft or ritual or anything like that is always going to improve your practice, and it's always going to give you a much more potent spell work. It's going to help your intentions be more focused. It's going to help you write a better limerick, right? It's going to help you write a better spell. I think that it's important for us to not focus so much of our energy. I think grounding and centering, right? Standing up, putting your feet on the ground, taking deep breaths, taking the time to surround yourself in whatever color light that you work in before you cast your circle. All those things are important, yes. But I think that sometimes it's easy to rush into craft and not take the time to sit and meditate and get the mind still first. And I'm guilty of this too, which is why I wanted to talk about this today, because it came up a few days ago when I was doing my new moon or my full moon ritual, that I hadn't meditated yet that day. And I was like, oh, shoot. And yeah, I had to fix that, but it's important. It's important. And I've seen the value of it when I do it consistently. And I've seen how things in my life shift when I stop doing it. The clarity that meditation brings me, the sharpness in my intuition, the third eye, the psychic awareness that I get when I meditate with regularity. I just wanted to share all of that with you and encourage you to develop a meditation practice. You can go to the ISHA Foundation.org if you want to find out more about Kriya. You can go look up Vipassana. I think it's Vapassana, Vipassana. If you want to learn about Vipassana meditation, do any kind of Google search on Sanskrit chanting, and you will find tons of mantras to work with that are really, really high and beautiful and will help you tremendously. So I hope this has all been helpful, and that you do either have a meditation practice that's working for you, or think about adding something to your craft practice that will just help you get into the spirit and to feel much more grounded and a much more well-rounded witchy individual that you are. Namaste. Have a beautiful start to your week.